that stay in and around Major League Soccer, Paul? What have you heard? Names floating around? Who's coming? Who's going?
Well, again, the transfer window is going to be so interesting if it even opens in the summer because of this stoppage and the way contracts are going, the way owners are taking hits. So a few interesting names, all of them connected to the national team in some way. We'll start with the right back position. DeAndre Yedlin is going to look for a move from Newcastle. The question is, where is he going to go? This is a prime example of a player who is a hefty salary on a team's books, and it behooves Newcastle to move him on. But what types of teams can afford him? Could there be interest in Germany, Holland, other places in England potentially for a loan? I would expect DeAndre Yedlin to be on the move if they can find a buyer or a team to take on that salary, and that's going to be the big question.
John, when I hear the stories and the rumors around DeAndre Yedlin, I find that to be a very precarious position for him because obviously he's not always in Greg Berhalter's front 11, even 14 players, however you may want to phrase it. He's got to make the right move, doesn't he, in the prime of his career coming up?
He has, yeah. At the age he is now, the next move is the most important of his career. I mean, he's in a very interesting position at Newcastle at the moment with this takeover imminent, or so we think, depending on whether or not the Premier League decide to stand up to the Saudi Arabian investors and say, well, hang on a minute, we're not happy that you're going to pass our fit and proper owners test. Now, the government are also getting involved in this situation as well. They're under severe political pressure to intervene and say, look, any Saudi interest in a Premier League club is not necessarily to be encouraged because of the country's human rights record. Their problem is that the cousin of the main investor looking to buy Newcastle already owns Sheffield United. So, in a sense, the horse has bolted. But bringing this back to DeAndre Yedlin, it puts him in this position where the club is going to be infused with money, in all probability. They're going to be looking at every angle. They want to give it, certainly, to what would have been the end of this season and possibly much of next to carry out their feasibility study for what they want to do in the future. They plan to keep Steve Bruce as manager, and they also plan to retain the majority of their playing staff at this stage. So it'll be interesting to see how easy or not it actually is, despite him being on good money, to get out of the club whilst they are conducting that study.
Paul, John says it best. I don't know what the future is going to hold in the transfer window. What are you hearing?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different dynamics at play beyond just the big picture. You look at Newcastle, a new owner coming in. Are they going to need to sell? All of a sudden they have all this cash? Probably not. And that's the question around the rest of the world. What teams are going to have the cash to spend and what teams are not? We're going to have a lot of teams looking to inject revenue into their club as quickly as possible. The easiest and best way to do that, sell players. But if there's no one to buy those players, it becomes a lot more difficult. So when I'm speaking to general managers and agents around the world that are looking at the different markets, the one thing they're saying to me is they just don't think there's going to be a lot of activity of buying players. Look for short-term loans with options to buy. That gives clubs about a year worth of time to figure out their finances, see if they can commit to buying a player. It also moves those players' salary off the books of the teams that are looking to offload money. Another interesting angle is the economics of this all. MLS is the majority of owners are billionaires. They're going to be able to ride out some of these losses better than some other leagues that are owned by kind of smaller businessmen or communities. Are they going to be able to take advantage in the window? It depends on whether or not games come back, frankly, and how much revenue is lost. But certainly you can understand that the prices are going to be dropping in places where MLS loves to shop. In South America, in certain European countries where we've seen teams go, in Eastern Europe. And are there going to be, with fewer buyers out there, especially when you look at the Bundesliga in France and the hit those teams are taking, MLS may be able to take advantage. Another interesting angle to watch is the currency. What is the value of the euro? What does the American dollar do? That impacts where players want to move. So all of these are up in the air, and everyone's kind of sitting and waiting and watching and saying, look, we're going to wait till the window opens. We're going to see how things start to react, what our own league is doing, and then we'll have an idea of how much we're going to be a buyer and how much we're going to try to move guys off the books.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.